Yo, what is up, YouTube? Alpha here with Drum and Bass Academy, here with the track breakdown of my track Tranquility, which is out on the Coastline EP on Focus Recordings. Real quick, before we get started, a little bit about me for those who don't know. I started producing and releasing a little under 2 years ago. My first release was on Influenza Media, which is, of course, a part of the Focus family of labels. Went on to release on Celsius, Focus, Hospital Records, Soul Deep, Future Retro. I just released my new EP on Focus Recordings, which is called Within Eternity. You can grab that on vinyl, and it is wonderful, if I do say so myself, featuring Leah Wood, Human Nature, Subliminal, Sydney, and Ritual on collab duty. So a lot of really great talent on that EP, and there's still only a couple copies left on the Focus Recording Bandcamp. You might be able to get it on Juno and Red Eye, but I know they were selling out quickly. So yeah, doing a track breakdown of Tranquility, which is interesting because it's over a year old, but it was my first song on Focus Recordings, and it was one of those songs that came together very, very, very quickly. I kind of knew I was on to something, right, when I was writing it, and wrote the majority of it in a day. I remember at the time I was working a lot with Willem. I still am, with mentoring sessions and with Andre Human Nature, founder of Drum and Bass Academy. And I remember sending this to Willem, and he loved it, and he was doing a Spearhead event, and he really wanted to play it out. It was the first song I had ever seen of mine played out. I remember Tempsa was emceeing over it, and it was really, really, really cool. But anyways, the song came together quickly, and part of that was because of the sample selection. I'm going to talk a lot about sample selection and how that plays a huge factor in producing Liquid. And the track you're hearing play in the background right now is actually the main sample source for this. This orchestral kind of ambient, it's almost non-music, right? It's just some drone notes. But I kind of looped it and reverbed it, like just put loads and loads and loads of reverb on it. And that became the starting point for this track. One thing that I do, and I know a lot of other artists do as they go throughout their day, is they, listen to a lot of non-drum and bass music, right? And I think that's really important as a producer, to listen to music that's not drum and bass. And if I hear something that resonates with me on an emotional, spiritual level, I make a note of it. And I try to sample it, and I'd say 90% of the time it doesn't work, right? Because I write down some weird stuff. I listen to some weird stuff like this, right? This is just an example of one that worked. I found a way to kind of loop the beginning of it for our intro here, as you can see. And then I kind of just, I warped it a little bit. And I kind of let the whole thing play out with tons of reverb on it, you can see here. So yeah, let's get into the track. I'm gonna, before we get started, just take you through the whole track, and then I'm gonna take you through it bit by bit, right? So we're just gonna start at the beginning. So again, Under Ancient Sun, that's our sample source, and that's where I got these strings from. You can see how I looped it here. We've got it all bussed together. We've got an EQ on it, getting all that low end scooped out, which is going to make room for our drums, our bass. Lots of reverb on this stuff. Mostly stock Ableton stuff going on here. Not a whole lot of plugins off the top of my head. I think we've got Hive 2, Massive, and Omnisphere will be the 3 plugins we're using. But stock Ableton is wonderful. So we've got this looping. We've got our breaks, main break, support break. This is from a Shrine sample pack. Got some stuff from, a breakage sample pack. Some beat fills. We got some samples here, more samples. This is white noise, reversed, forward, back. I always listen to samples both ways, reversed and forwards. Go vocal pit. And we've got these wonderful pianos that I looped, which I have the pianos here. I'll show you the unlooped, unedited version of the pianos as we get into the track breakdown. Lots of white noise. This is white noise I did in Hive. There's a lot of white noise in this track. I wanted to make some almost wave-like sounds, like we were at the shore. And in fact, the name of this song, which my wife I think came up with. My wife names a lot of my songs. It's named after the Sea of Tranquility, which is where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin sit down and became the first men on the moon. We've got lots and lots of stuff going on here for the bass. We'll get to that. Very, very simple track. So again, up until here was all samples. Getting down here, simple bass line, simple bass line. And then we've got some drone notes, lots of drone notes, which are all done in Hive and in Omnisphere. So yeah, we'll get into the breakdown here, and let's break it down. Let's break it down track by track. Stop that. All right. Listen to all that reverb. It's funny. A little bit of an aside. I was chatting with Vilm the other day, and again, look, I just want to say this up front. If you're looking to get into music production, ask for help. There's so many wonderful people out there willing to mentor you. And Andre Human Nature, Vilm, Andrew Vilm, and Johnny Mikekiss. I was very fortunate to have the three of them mentor me about 2 years ago when I started producing. And if it wasn't for the help of these wonderful producers, I wouldn't be where I am today. So shout out to the three of them and to everyone else that's helped me along the way. And I still do mentoring sessions with Vilm. We meet usually about once a month. And dude is an absolute genius and really, really has helped me. And again, this is like one of the first songs I sent him where he was like, man, you're onto something. But he was saying to me the other day that I started to find, I've really started to find my sound, right? And he said he was a little jealous of that because some people have trouble making a signature sound. And I said, dude, my sound is just put reverb on everything. So this is, if I did a track breakdown of other tracks, you would see that I just laid really, really, really a ton of reverb onto everything. So anyway, let's start at the beginning. We've got this little bit sampled and looped. Just two notes. Bum, bum. And it's again, just does that over and over again through the intro. Does a little bit at the beginning of the drop too, and then it kind of goes off into whatever the song does, with lots and lots of reverb on it. Look at that. I mean, I have it cranked all the way up there later on. So nothing real fancy here. This is the drop here at 25, which is actually 48. I'm producing in 87 beats per minute, which is maybe unconventional, but 87 is half of 174. So to me, to the DAW, it's all the same. So yeah, that's it. This was the inspiration for the track right here. I started with this, this is the order I did the track in, right? I started with this, then I started on drums, and then I found this, some white noise and, some piano samples. So things kind of cut out a little bit. There's a, EQ sweep that happens. Looks like, sounds like. Yep, there's the EQ, EQ8. You can see the automation on the EQ there. That makes room, again, for the drums and the bass. This is when it drops right here. And it kind of slowly comes back in. This is a breakdown where we bring everything really back in. And also, if I remember correctly, yes, there's some saturation. So there's like a timpani and all kinds of real epic sounds that happen in here. I'm going to go ahead a little bit forward to get to there. Yeah, it just swells. And again, and we allow the low end to come back in. We can see the EQ automation down here, and then the saturator, which just heightens it. And I just love this breakdown. I love to play this song in the club. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the way this song turned out. And here, listen to that. That's some saturation. Really, I mean, 6.45 dB of saturation there is a bit, right? And then we go into the second drop. And here, I'm gonna play the whole thing. Simple, yet effective. All right, so yeah, just again, lots of reverb. You can look at the EQ automation, scooping out the low end here on the main sample, making room for the drums, making room for the bass. You know, saturation back to 0. Reverb is all the way up. Oh goodness, what's this? Look at that. Yeah, and again, so that's another thing. When the second drop hits, we get even wetter reverb, more to 83%. And then it goes back up. So that's the main sample. It's, you know, not a super musical sample. So kind of an interesting choice for a main sample, but I think, again, it's very effective. So yeah, I'm gonna actually bump this down a dB or 2. Let's see. Let's move on to the drums. All samples. Some people do their drums in MIDI. There's many ways to do drums. We're not going to see any plugins on these drums. A tiny bit of reverb on the drum bus in an 8-band EQ. So we've got a low pass sweep. Things are opening. Frequency. There we go. We can see the automation on that. And here come the drums. Here come the drums. And this is these two breaks stacked on top of one another. And then the main break comes in right here. We get that a little bit before the drop. We have a little volume automation. This comes down about 2 dB. Makes a little bit of room for the main break there. Other than that, I mean, I could talk about sample sourcing. Well, actually, I don't know where these two samples are from, but this is from the Shrine sample pack, which Alexander did. Shouts to Alexander. It's a free sample pack. There's a lot of wonderful stuff in there. So you can grab that. These are from a Breakage sample pack. Just some tops. I can take you through each one if you want. We've got the main. No EQ on that. Support break is got this on it. This EQ. We're just using the tops and stuff from that. We're getting a little bit of the kick from that. Again, here's an EQ. So I didn't want the tops of this one. We're getting plenty of tops from here, here, and here. We've got this, the mystery tops. Again, 8-band EQ, a high pass, just letting this very tippy top out. It's nice. Nice shakers, nice tops. Turned down quite a bit. And these are turned way down. But we're just a little something just to progress it along. The other thing I will go back to, we've got these transitional effects, which these are from a remix competition that I didn't even enter. But if you see a remix competition, it's a wonderful place to get free samples from. You know, I've heard it said that, you know, good artists borrow, great artists steal. And drum and bass is all about samples. And, you know, it doesn't really matter where you get your samples from. So, yeah, that's it for the drums. Nothing fancy. Copy and paste on the second drop. Another low pass filter. We've got a high pass right before each of the drops, as you can hear. And, of course, you would hear it better if I allowed you to hear it. So the low pass things open up. And then right before the drop, we'll watch the automation here. And we've got a high pass. Sweep up. And then we've got a little break there. 1 bar. And then the drop. Nice think break in there. Classic, liquid. I thought the kick was too weighty on these samples, so I scooped out the very bottom. And just this, they were a little harsh up on the top. So this is the EQ on the drum bus. Again, a tiny bit of reverb just to glue them all together. All right, and we'll move on next. We've got more samples. These are just something I got, who knows, probably from Splice. Let's see. Yep, from Splice. And one thing I always do, I think I mentioned this before, I like playing with my samples and reversing them. This is, what the heck is this? I don't even know. I just made it into white noise. I don't know what it originally was. I can unwarp it to see. Oh, it's not too time warped. But it's just white noise. There's a lot of white noise in this track. Just some sweeps. I still have the drums playing. So yeah, nothing much going on there. I like ad-lib vocals. So here, the next stems we have are these vocals, which just play right before the drop. 32 bars in, we get a different vocal. These are two of the same vocals. One's pitched down, right? Yes, see, this is pitched down. 12 semitones, 1 octave, and lots of reverb. I mean, listen, it's still going. And, you know, that algorithm signature, just some volume automation. I actually bring it up because I really want you to hear that tail from the reverb. And, yeah, so we've got a little different vocal sample that plays here. Same thing. This one's pitched down, 12 semitones, 1 octave. Let's see. Ooh, that's nice. I love ad-lib vocals, even more so than spoken words, or sung words rather. But you can see DK time 60 seconds. That's the highest Ableton goes. If it went higher, I would probably do it higher. And this is part of the reason, believe it or not, I produce at 87. Is because plugins and stuff, behave a little bit more a little bit differently at 87 beats per minute than at 174. So I just like the way that even like Hive and some of these things perform at this. So again, we have the same two, and at the end we have one last sample. Different now is what she's saying. So there are words there after I talked about ad-libs. But it's a journey, and I liked that. She's saying she's different now. There's been some transformation that's happened. And, yeah, boy, what a journey this song was to write. So before we get into the piano, which the piano is when this song really started to take form, because the musicality of the main sample, I mean, there isn't a whole lot of musicality, right? There's just these drone notes, and I have a ton of drone notes at the end, as we saw earlier. And I needed something to latch onto melodically, other than just these big sounds and just just this. It's all great, but there needed to be more concrete musicality. So we got these arps. Excuse me. Getting a little parched. So let's look at this. These keys. We can see the EQ opening. Nice automation on the EQ. Open it up, closing it, opening it, and then down for the breakdown, open, and then up to the end. Again, it's like this. I wanted this song to be a journey, and you have your ebbs and your flows, and you introduce things and pull them out, and you can do those things with automation, some simple automation. Look at that EQ closing. Look at that right there. And so there's a low pass and high pass. So it's a little art, a little piano art. Really nice. You know, it's just finding the right sample. And it's funny. So I heard this sample, and originally it really sounded nothing like this, but I manipulated it. I looped it in a way. It was a loop, 120 beats per minute. Obviously, I had to do quite a bit of editing to get it to fit into this song, because this song is not 120 beats per minute, and we're in G minor. So here is where we have our progression. We have a little vocal thing, 32 bars into the drop. And then we have this little edit here. Yes. So, how did I get there? I don't remember, but let's look at the original sample. Oh, goodness. All right. So this is the original sample. It's really quite different than what we end up with, right? So, yes and no. So. Lovely sample. That's it. That's the whole sample. And I just found ways to loop that. You know, you can see I did this little I just looped the very beginning of it, and then I allowed it to start progressing, right? And then once we get 32 bars into the drop, again, I'll just go ahead and play the whole track. So there we just have that first little bit of the art, first little bit of the sample, sped up, looping, and then the progression. So, again, not a whole lot happening musically in this song, but it's effective. You know, we don't want to overcomplicate things. And as a producer, I tend to always want to kind of get in my own way and overcomplicate things. And when we just find the right samples, they do all the heavy lifting, man. I don't have to use a ton of plugins. I don't have to do a whole lot to them. Some reverb, lots of real wet reverb. Some saturation, and yeah, and the EQ. Pull them out. They're completely pulled out here, and then they'll be reintroduced for the second drop. So that's the pianos. It's one sample, just looped in a myriad of ways, chopped and, you know, copied and pasted. And yeah, simple yet, I would say, very effective. And it all came from this little loop right here, which again, I got on Spice or something. And we use that second drop progression here, but it is mostly pulled out. So look at, this is the EQ. This is what's playing of the piano here. And it's really slowly opening back up. Just getting this right around 200 hertz. We're just getting this little bit of it. We get more and more and more. You know, this is the rollout section, the second drop. Vibes. All right, moving right along to the white noise. Lots of white noise. Another algorithm signature. Just white noise with you guessed it, tons of reverb. So we've got let's just slow this whole thing. So, and we can't hear too much of it yet. This is turned way down. Oh, I see it comes up here. I'll go ahead and move up a little bit. This is a AZ Dirty 808 boom. So I'm, using some very unconventional things for white noise, but this is, again, I was going for like a kind of almost like beach-like sound, and using this white noise from Hive. This is the AZ straight noise riser. AZ straight noise riser. Just some sounds with a ton of reverb on them, which again give us this. It almost sounds like waves crashing at the shore, and they kind of go throughout the whole song. And here we're gonna get this guy again. Volume automation, EQ, and lots of reverb. And that's it. This is going on like the whole song. It's not super noticeable unless you point it out, though. At least I don't think so. Just some stuff to fill the space in between the other sounds. And again, you know, the name of the song, Tranquility, came from the Sea of Tranquility. So that's it. That's it for this group. White noise, just going the whole song. Just sweeps. Sweeps and sweeps and sweeps. Noise risers, lots of reverb, 60 seconds, almost 100%. Couldn't be much wetter. Bass time. Let's go on to the bass. There is some volume automation on the bass. So each bass note hits. We'll talk about that first. And there's lots of layers here, right? There's even some choir and stuff, which I use a lot of choir in my bass lines, which that's me. That's one of my things. Since these are just solid sine waves, basically, it's the AZ warm sub bass on Hive. We've got almost kind of like an 808 would do. They go, each bass note hits and then tapers down. Oh, Omnisphere is doing a weird thing. Apologies. Omnisphere will do this sometimes. I'll just show you this because Omnisphere is wonderful, but it is cutting off this second note, and it'll just end right here for some reason. And if I were to reload Omnisphere, it would stop doing that, but I'm not gonna, because Omnisphere takes a long time to load. Yeah, not a whole lot happening on the bass line. We've got a G, which is our root note. We're in G minor. So we have our, you know, D sharp and A. So if we were to do this, boop, we could, that's our 7th. Yeah, very simple bass line. And the second drop, it switches up. We drop on the D sharp and then go up to the G. Just a little variation on the bass line. It's so simple. So, and yet, I'd say effective. We've got our real low sub bass here, an EQ on that to make room for this, our Reese, which is done in massive. If you want to take a look at that, nothing fancy. I mean, yeah. Then we have another sine wave, this one a little bit higher, just to give us some harmonics. Turned down a little bit, EQ'd a bit. I don't know what this overdrive is. I don't think that made it into the song. We'll delete that. How about? And then we've got choir following the same pattern. There's a boys choir and a men's choir. I like adding choir to my bass lines because it adds kind of a human element. Sine waves and square waves and whatever, they obviously are synthesized, and having a human voice layered on top of them gives it kind of this organic feel. So this, just a boys choir, with some reverb on it, following the same pattern as the bass. Very subtle. Again, you might not hear it now that I've pointed it out to you. Maybe you can hear it in the final track, but it's there. On a subconscious level, I think people latch onto these kinds of things, giving them a human element. Drum and bass, I think it's important, especially with liquid drum and bass, to give it that human element. And then we have this wonderful Omnisphere plugin. Again, I love Omnisphere, even though it is a total pain in my behind sometimes. Seems to be working right here. We have some strings that come in on the second drop, and again follow the bass line. So I'm gonna play that second drop again. just kind of adding to the overall epicness of the second drop. Again, that white noise, the waves, and the, you know, I really wanted to evoke this otherworldly, tranquil sea, which is why the Sea of Tranquility, you know, came to mind when my wife and I were trying to come up with a name. Enchanted Flutes. I don't know what this is. And it seems to be doing nothing, because again, Omnisphere is not working. So unfortunately, I can't show you what this is, because sometimes Omnisphere, I just have to reload it for it to work. So there was something here, which was a kind of point counterpoint kind of thing. And this is the G and the D sharp. So, oh yeah, we have this little siren thing, which I really like, and it's real subtle. Again, you might not notice it, but this happens a few times in the song. So I'll just play it. Real quiet. Just a super reverbed out, distant siren. ETE saw siren hold. I think I added some reverb to it. Right here in Hive. So nothing fancy, just a Hive preset. I just really like that. I don't know. It's just a little touch. These little things kind of can make or break a song. So we've just got that. It plays 3 times here. Looks like 2 times there. So nothing fancy. Just a little distant siren. Then we have tons of drone notes. Holy moly, Alpha. Lay off the drone notes. All this stuff. And it kind of goes together with here. Let me get up to, you know, if we're... And this stuff's just playing like the whole song, pretty much. A lot of it cuts out here when this kind of comes back. But throughout the drops, we've got a lot of drone notes playing. What, G's and probably D sharps and A's, and what do we got? G, lots of G's, which is our root notes, so that's good. G, D sharp. What's this? A C, 2 C's, full octave. So yeah, boys choir. Again, I love choirs. Omnisphere patch, lots of reverb that just comes in. There's some volume automation. What do we have here? Just some pads and stuff like that. Just some stuff just to play throughout the song. That's the song. We can go through these if you want, but just these are both from Omnisphere, Hive, and Omnisphere. So yeah, nothing fancy happening here. Let me go ahead where it's a little bit louder. Just some EQ, some reverb, and that's about it for Tranquility. Put it all together, and yeah, I don't know, really happy with the way this song turned out. Again, it was my first song on Focus, which one of my all-time favorite labels. Obviously my good friend Andre, Human Nature, released a lot there, and it always had been a dream of mine to release there. And when I wrote this song, I sent it to Marco at Focus, and I said, within probably a week of starting it, it was done. And I was like, hey, I wrote this. And he said, hey, we've got a compilation. I'll put it on there. And a few months later, I released my first EP on Focus. So it doesn't have to be complicated to be good. A lot of Liquid is about the sample selection. A lot of Liquid is about sample sourcing, listening for inspiration everywhere you go, whether it's at the beach or, you know, listening. I mean, Under an Ancient Sun is taken from a video game. I think I was listening to the soundtrack, but I may have been playing the video game too. And now I can't play that game without thinking about this track. We all have virtually unlimited sample sources, and it's easy to go to places like Splice, which, you know, I did get these keys, this piano from Splice. But think outside the box. You know, try to find unique and fun things to sample from, and try to develop, you know, new ideas from that. Draw inspiration from new places, and the end result will end up being something new too. Again, I have to thank Human Nature, you know, Andre. I have to thank Willem and Mike Kiss, who were all instrumental in me realizing my dream of music production. There's never been a better time to start producing drum and bass. The resources available, whether it's Drum and Bass Academy, whether it's these one-on-one mentoring sessions, there's never been this incredible wealth of resources available at your fingertips for free or for cheap. I mean, some of these, it's crazy. Especially because of COVID, you know, a lot of people started exploring other avenues of revenue, of generating revenue. And, you know, this is a wonderful opportunity for anyone looking to get into music production. So that's Tranquility. Again, it's on Focus Recordings. You can get my new EP, Within Eternity, on Focus Recordings on vinyl if you're quick. Also, be sure to check out my YouTube page, youtube.com/alpharhythm. I do weekly live streams over there. I have a podcast, which is the Alpharhythm Drum and Bass Podcast. I'll be at Hospitality on the Beach playing at the beginning of June. So if you're there, be sure to come up, say hello. I'd love to see you, love to meet you, love to talk drum and bass. Yeah, hit me up on socials, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/alpharhythmdnb. So that's about it. Thank you all for joining me for this track breakdown. Happy 174, which here in the United States is 417, so it doesn't make any sense. Because I would never make a song at 417 beats per minute. But that's just me. If you want to try making a track at 417 beats per minute, let me know how that goes for you. I'm out of here. Peace out, guys.
Hi, I'm Icicle and welcome to my studio. I'm a drum and bass producer from Holland, if you didn't know. I used to live in England for a long time, and together with Drum and Bass Academy, I have made a course describing my entire process. It's an Ableton course over 4 hours long, in which I go through drum design, drum programming, sound design, bass lines, composition and arrangement, some advanced sound design techniques as well, and mastering. Included are the project files as well, samples, presets, everything, so you can properly follow along with me and get to the same result as myself. So I hope you enjoy.